Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about transitioning from a 5k race to a 10k race. How can you train yourself? How can you prepare yourself to be on that start line of a 10k race, your first 10k race, safely, but also competitively, to be able to achieve the results that you want and to be able to really give yourself a good first shot at your first 10-kilometer race. Okay, so the first point I'm going to talk about is setting yourself a goal. It's really important to have a goal, have some sort of idea of what you want to aim for, especially when it's a new race like this and all your training leading up to it is going to be slightly different. Maybe it's going to be bigger in volume, it's going to be bigger in intensity, but you need to set yourself a goal, something that's in your sights so you can really achieve your best result. Now, it's really difficult obviously to set yourself a goal time if you've never ran a 10k before, but a general rule is usually you can double your 5k time, add on a couple minutes there. That'll give you some sort of idea of what you're capable of. Obviously it's not going to give you your exact time, there's a number of different factors that will go into that result, but really just to give you some sort of ballpark and some sort of target to aim for. If you go online, there are a number of race calculators that might give you a bit more insight perhaps, but usually double the 5k time, add a couple of minutes, and if you train for it correctly, if you train for it properly, that should give you a good idea of what to expect. Secondly, you need to think about adding in a long run every week. Now, you may have not done that. If you've been racing 5Ks, maybe you've been racing park runs every weekend, you need to think about adding in a long run. If you're going to be running and racing over 10 kilometers, you need to be prepared for that distance. So if you've only ran 5k races before, maybe 5 kilometers has been the furthest you've ever ran, you need to think about maybe just adding that distance on a little bit each week, not too much. It's really important not to just ramp up your long runs from the start. Like I said, if it's been 5 kilometers in the past, then add it up to 5.5, build it up slowly, 6 kilometers, 7 kilometers, 8 kilometers. Take your time with this, don't rush this process. It's really important to make sure you're feeling comfortable with this, allowing your body to absorb the training and be able to develop those aerobic gains that you want for race day. Now, if you've never added them into your training before, you need to think about adding in some interval sessions into your training program. So by interval, I mean faster paced running. So we're looking at running faster than your 10-kilometer race pace. This is really going to develop your upper end speed, your leg turnover, and all the other physiological benefits that come along with this. So you're thinking about doing splits, maybe going to a track, on a grass field, on softer surfaces. I definitely recommend training these harder, faster sessions on softer surfaces if you can. So I recommend starting off, perhaps if you've never done anything like this before, maybe doing some 30-second intervals. So what I mean by that is running fast, running at a hard pace for 30 seconds. And then what I always recommend to people as well, especially when you're thinking about being a distance runner, is just keep moving. So don't stop and rest, keep walking at least, because it's teaching your body to develop that endurance at the same time. Now, this is just a really easy session for someone who's starting off with this faster paced work, and obviously over time you can increase these intervals, but I recommend trying to get yourself to a place where you're running at least 2-minute intervals, maybe between 2 and 5 minute intervals. This is the area where you're going to build those maximum benefits, which is going to get you to a position where you can really hold that pace within your 10k race for a longer amount of time, so you can really make that transition from 5k to 10k and give yourself the best possible chance of holding a good, strong pace for the whole of that 10-kilometer distance. And then what I'd also recommend between some easier runs perhaps is what we call a tempo session. So now a tempo session is where you really work on your lactic threshold. So this is the ability, the pace that you can run and really manage the build-up of lactic acid within your body. So you're running at a hard pace, so it should feel comfortably fast. That's how we would describe it. So if you're on a scale with 1 being a really easy walk and 10 being a flat-out sprint or race pace, a tempo pace should be really anywhere on that scale around 8 to an 8.5. This will feel comfortably fast, so you're going to be working hard, and for some people it might even be very close to their race pace. So for example, for a tempo pace, that should be really a pace if you're well rested and you're relaxed and you've had a good training build up to it, you should be able to sustain this pace for 60 minutes. So typically a classic tempo session will be anything around the 20-minute mark, so you'd be running a nice easy warm-up and then 20 minutes of tempo within a session and then cool it down again. But again, this is just for a starting point. So maybe you've never done a session like this before, you can start by splitting this up. So you can think about doing 5-minute efforts at tempo pace, 2 minutes easy jog, 5-minute efforts again, allowing you to run at a fast, steady pace consistently within your training, but it's not going to be too damaging throughout the week, and it allows you to run for a sustained amount of time. So it means you're really training that race pace and really develop this for longer races ahead in the future. Now, as you're getting closer towards your race deadline, you really want to start dialing in that race pace. You want to start doing plenty of runs to practice that race pace, really give you an idea of what your goal pace should feel like, so that when it comes to race day, you're not just completely confused, you're not questioning yourself, am I going too fast, am I going too slow? You need to go into that race with a plan, and you need to know what that plan should feel like. So in your training, maybe it would be the kind of days where you do your tempo runs, you would switch that up and you would do some race pace training. So we're talking about splitting up, maybe starting again, you know, 3 by 8 minutes, 3 by 10 minutes. Maybe even if you're really elite and you're really strong runner, you can even work up to maybe 3 by 15 minutes at race pace. So what I'm saying there is you run 15 minutes at race pace and then take a break, maybe an easy jog for 5 minutes or so to let yourself really recover, and then 15 minutes again at race pace. Really prepare yourself for some great upper end speed and feel really comfortable in the 10k race. Now you need to give some focus as well to your core. Maintaining good form throughout your runs, throughout your races is really important, and keeping that core strength there is really the massive part of the process. You want to be strong through the line from the start to the finish, and really doing a core session maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times a week. Obviously starting off slowly, building this up, and it doesn't have to be anything too extreme. We're just talking about 5 minutes maybe after a long run or after a harder session, 5 minutes here and there, doing some plank variations, doing a few press-ups. You can go a long way in really developing your core strength and keeping you strong and your running form well aligned for the whole race. And this leads me into that last point, recovery. Recovery is such an important part of the training process, and a part that a lot of people always neglect. You need to think about your nutrition, you need to think about your sleep, and you need to think about your hydration. So thinking about sleep, so try and get at least 8 hours a night. Think about all that stress, all that pressure you're putting on yourself within training. If you're not getting good sleep, you're not giving your body the chance to really repair itself, to recover from this training, and to make the most of your training. Hydration, I always recommend to any runner, anyone at all, it's the first thing you do as soon as you get up in the morning, a big glass of water, 1 or 2 glasses of water, really making sure that you're hydrated from the start of the day. If you're getting up and you're going straight out the door in your running shoes, that's great, that's awesome training, really good to have that motivation, but have some water first, because all you're going to do is start your day off in a really dehydrated state, and if you're dehydrated from the start of the day, it's hard to play catch up. And last point there, nutrition. So make sure that your nutrition is really dialed in. Lots of whole foods, so we're talking about lots of brown rice, lots of good carbohydrates, brown rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, my favorite. Also thinking about lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, watermelon, pineapple, always fantastic after a long and hard run. Some bananas, great to get lots of minerals in your body there as well. Really wholesome food that's going to keep you full of energy and ready to tackle your training every single day. You're going to notice your recovery is improved, and that's the most important part about training consecutively and getting really dialed in for a race. So if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up below, guys. Leave any comments if there's anything I missed out. Obviously there's a number of different ways you can train to develop yourself for a 10k. If you want to get in touch for coaching, you can always email me at harryrunsuk@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe below if you haven't already. Lots of race vlogs coming this way, lots of really cool adventures coming up this summer. I'm going to share all those with you as well, guys, so lots more content all the time, so make sure you hit subscribe. But thanks for watching, guys, and happy running.